Hi, my name is Oishi. I'm the international representative of Bangladesh Asexuals Association. In this presentation, we are going to talk about asexuality in Bangladesh. First, a little bit about our organization, BDAA. It was founded in October 2020 by Deepa Mahbuba Yasmin. Our main initiative is to create content in our native language, Bengali, and to raise awareness among various LGBTQ organizations, feminist organizations, and among the general public. We are trying to create awareness through online platforms such as Facebook. So far, we have found visibility for 20 people who identify as asexual in Bangladesh. Our members are both Bangladeshi citizens and expatriate Bengalis. This includes people from the diaspora who live abroad right now. After the COVID-19 pandemic is over, we hope to do a get-together of all the ACE members of our community so we have a chance to get to know each other. And we hope to continue participating along with the ACE Queer Network activists. To explain what it is like to be asexual in Bangladesh, it's important to give you some context about the culture in our society. Bangladesh has a very culturally conservative society. Sex and sexuality are taboo topics and never discussed in polite society. Sex is acknowledged usually in legal context, and it's acknowledged as a conjugal duty and as a means of procreation. Procreation is considered to be an essential duty of all our citizens. Therefore, sexual orientation is considered irrelevant. Your sexual orientation should not get in the way of performing your duty of getting married and procreating. Marriage is an important social currency in our community, and unmarried individuals face significant challenges if they do not match the social norm. Men and women who are unmarried or are unable to procreate are either ostracized or pitied, but no avenues are offered where they can discuss their struggles. The cultural traditions of Bangladesh have been heavily influenced by its religious traditions. As you can see from the pie chart, the vast majority of Bangladeshis practice Islam, typically Sunni Islam. 9% practice Hinduism, and the remaining 1% practice other religions such as Christianity, Buddhism, etc. The attitudes about sexuality in Bangladesh stem largely from Islamic attitudes towards sex. While sexuality is not a taboo topic in Islam in and of itself, it is acceptable only within the context of a marriage. In Islam, premarital and extramarital sex are explicitly forbidden and considered to be punishable offenses. In Bangladesh, many of the Islamic faith are taught from an early age that when an unmarried man and an unmarried woman are alone together, the third person in their company is the devil. Therefore, contact between those of the opposite gender are heavily discouraged. And while premarital sex is considered to be a sin in Islam, it is also heavily discouraged in other religions in Bangladesh as well. Hindu societies are also very conservative regarding sex. And if you are familiar with Hindu mythology, it may not appear this way. However, in practice, Hindu societies are very conservative. In many of the religious traditions, wives' subservience to their husbands is emphasized. In Hindu texts, this is very clearly emphasized. And then Bangladesh's Hindu roots across many generations has culturally influenced Bengali tradition, even where other religions are practiced. So for example, while Islam does not explicitly stipulate that it is a wife's duty to obey her husband and satisfy his needs, the Islamic religious leaders in Bangladesh typically do teach that wives ought to be subservient to their husbands. And then in many religious traditions, celibacy is viewed as a divine and extreme act of devotion to God. Interestingly, this is not the case in Islam, which does not venerate celibacy, but many other religions do. And they often view celibate individuals, whether they have taken a vow of celibacy or not, as ascetic or devoted individuals. This can be a struggle for asexuals who want to be treated as regular citizens, not as a god or a monk or a pastor. They don't want people to think that they've taken a vow of celibacy, which is known as brotochari in our language. This can be a struggle, especially for asexuals who do not identify with a religion, yet society thinks that they are very religious and devout individuals. There is unfortunately no sex education in Bangladesh. Sex is never mentioned in schools or by any educators. We traditionally did not even have a concept of mothers teaching their daughters what to expect on the wedding nights. From our grandmother's generation, we hear stories about how they were left to find out about sex on their wedding nights from their husbands. While this has changed, due to better science education, people are aware of sex as a biological act of procreation. Sex education is still not common in schools. I mean, sex education is not at all taught in schools. People are opposed to teaching sex education in schools because they think that sex education means teaching people how to have sex. That is why they're completely opposed to sex education for minors, because premarital sex is explicitly forbidden. People do not understand that sex education encompasses very important topics such as safety, consent, sexual orientations. And as a result of this lack of education, these topics are also people are also in the dark about these topics, and there's a severe lack of awareness. One area in which Bangladesh is doing well is on the topic of family planning and the use of contraceptives. This is promoted by the government as a method for population control. However, we are severely lacking in other ways. As long-term initiatives, BDSA hopes to combat these misconceptions about sex education, provide training and workshops on sex education to primary and secondary teachers, and advocate incorporation of sex education in the primary and secondary education systems. There is virtually no understanding regarding the difference between gender and sexuality. In Bangladesh, people think your gender dictates with whom you should fall in love with, whom you should marry, and then you're expected to procreate. Non-binary and transgender people have to fight on two fronts, explaining both their sexuality and their gender. In BDAA, we are trying to raise awareness about asexual and non-binary citizens. We are also reaching out to queer and transgender organizations to increase their awareness about asexuality so that they're aware that their ACE members face unique challenges that the rest of their members might not. Asexuality and LGBTQ issues are not recognized by the government. In fact, these topics are banned in public discourse under the 377 sodomy law, which blanketly covers any topics related to the LGBTQ. Even asexuality falls under this law. The general public sentiment towards LGBTQ issues is very negative. LGBTQ activism is often met with violence, and there are little to no legal protection for people met with this violence because of this 377 sodomy law. We have very little visibility of ACE men because of their fear of social harassment. The masculinity of asexual men is scrutinized and censured. If a man cannot perform, that is considered to be extremely shameful. And in fact, in divorce courts, legally, if a wife can prove that her husband has been sexually incompetent, that is, the husband cannot perform his duty of procreation, a wife can demand a large compensation for it in the divorce. Women also suffer as due to asexuality. Many asexual women do not understand their asexuality and suffer from an inferiority complex because they think they are broken. Many are advised to take medication and sex therapy. Many often face sexual assault and rape, marital rape at the hands of their husband. And since marital rape is not recognized in Bangladesh, they have no legal protection against this. Some law professionals are now trying to raise awareness about asexual citizens. Specifically, they're trying to raise awareness about the issue of marital rape. We are also trying to raise awareness among feminist organizations so they are aware that asexual women face the issue of marital rape especially. In the medical profession, asexuality is misdiagnosed as a psychosexual disorder, and the treatment is typically medication and sex therapy, which, as we know, is not going to do anything to cure somebody of their lack of sexual attraction. This misdiagnosis will likely continue unless medical professionals understand the difference between sexual desire and sexual attraction. We have been reaching out to people in the medical community. We have explained asexuality to 2 doctors, and we have invited them to participate in vlogs with us to discuss this issue further. We are also in talks with a medical professor about the possibility of incorporating asexuality and sexual orientation in medical education. BDAA is working to create vocabulary in our native language Bengali for asexuality related concepts. For example, on the right, you can see the Bengali words for asexuality, ajonochitto, and aromantic, apremomoyi. We are working to create educational content in Bengali as well as writing fiction in our native language. We work with an art gallery, Epiphania Visuals, which hosts art exhibitions and seminars catering to the sexual experience. We also have an asexual writer, Sajjad Hossein Kishore, who is one of our members. He writes stories and poems based on his personal experience. Epiphania Visuals has been extremely helpful in creating posters, infographics, and memes that we are using in our efforts to raise awareness about asexuality. And here are some examples of some of their work. With that, we would like to conclude this presentation. Thank you for joining us. We are proud Bangladeshis and proud asexuals.